Hello everyone, my name is Zuli, and as you guys seen these dream catchers before, I decided to make my version of it because I really didn't like the ones that were going around TikTok. They were kind of little flimsy and the beads would fall down. So I'm going to show you my Zulified version of it. And let me tell you what we're going to need. We're going to need nylon cord. It's going to be 0.8 millimeter, the one we use for macrame. We're going to need 18 6 beads and 18 10 millimeter beads. With our memory wire, it's going to be the standard size 60 millimeter, just a regular standard size memory wire. When we cut it, we want to make sure we have about 1.5 inches overlap on each side. So the full circle, but 1.5 inches on each side. Make sure you string the 6 beads first. We're not going to cut the string off the spool. We're going to leave the spool attached. And we're going to put the nylon cord the opposite way on top of where we're going to start putting our beads. Okay, just like that. Just lay it on top, going the opposite way so that when you pull your beads onto the memory wire, you're going to have a long string on the right side. Okay, that way you are stringing and keeping it on the nylon cord. So you're putting it on the memory wire, but your nylon cord is still attached. Okay, in order for your beads not to fall off your nylon cord, please make sure you take time to pull on that bottom nylon cord that you see it hanging. You want to make sure you pull it so there's enough to work with. We don't want your beads to fall off of it. Okay, and that's going to also help because that's going to be part of our hanging um, top part of our decorative ring. Okay, so just pull it. You can pull it as far as you'd like. The more you have to work with, the best. And then you just continue to put those beads on. So make sure that when you string the beads on the nylon cord, that you don't cut off the nylon cord, you leave it attached, but that you put your 18 beads that are 6 size first and then 10 because your 10 are going to go on the ring first, okay? So you're just going to keep beating them on until you have all 18 of them. And once you have all of your beads to form your circle, you're going to get that extra part that you left on the wire, that 1.5 inches or so, and you're going to just insert like this. You're going to put in on one side, just go ahead and insert it, and then on the other side so that you can complete the circle. This is going to give you a sturdier circle and it's going to be easier for when you weave. You're going to close it with a regular knot. Now we're going to start with the weaving process, just a regular knot like you see here. For the weaving part, we are going to take a 6 millimeter bead now, and we're going to put it in between the 10 gap that you see right there. Then we're going to go on top and we're going to count 7 beads towards the right, and we're going to weave it towards the back and then come across the next bead to the right of where we had the 6 the first one. Okay, so we're always working to the right. We're weaving from the top. We're taking it to the back, over the top again. When we get to the top, we're going to pull a 6 bead, and then we're going to repeat the process. Okay, you're going to do this every gap that you see. Okay, so the 18 gaps between the 10 bead should have one 6 millimeter bead in between them. If you lose your place, don't worry. You can count 7 beads. After 7 beads to the right, that's where you are going to weave and go towards the back and then up to the front of the circle again. And then at the top is where you're going to put your 6 bead. Now, you're going to repeat this until all of them are full. Okay, all of them have a 6 mm bead, you're going to end up being going to the right spot of the beginning. Okay, the beginning long string that you have, they're going to connect when you are done. Okay, this is why it's so important that you count your beads before you string them onto the nylon cord. Because remember, we are not cutting the nylon cord, we still have it on the spool, and that way we're saving that. So you see how I'm working with the spool? I'm taking that long piece kind of out of the way every time so it doesn't get tangled on there. Eventually we're going to end up in the same place. So that's where we're going to complete that full circle of the 6 mm. Okay, that is where we go to the next step, which is going to be the decorative star that goes in the front, which means another round of weaving. Okay. So in the next round, we're going to be forming peaks around each of those little 6 mm beads. And what I mean with peaks is the decorative ring looks like it has a big star with multiple peaks, right? So you can see as you're weaving, you're going to do the same process. You're going to go towards the right, and then after every 7 beads, you're going to count 7 beads to the right, and then you're going to just weave the same way, but this time we have no bead. Okay. And if you look at your design closely and you pay attention to the pattern, you're going to see that there's little peaks that are around or caging in that 6 mm bead. That's what we're looking for. Okay. That's the decorative part of this ring. This is what's making it sturdier. You want to be careful that you don't do a lot of tension or make it too tight, because you can make that circle get a little deformed and it starts looking a little oval. Okay, so we want to keep that nice circular shape. So you're going to continue that. You're going to continue until every single bead that is the 6 mm bead has a little peak, and you can tell by every single time you weave um, each of the beads, you can tell where there's a peak or you haven't completed a peak. Okay, pay attention to your pattern. This is, as crafters, something that we tend not to pay attention to. Um, this will make it easier for you to understand how this pattern works and where to catch the issues. Like if you don't see a peak around that 6 mm bead, then there's something wrong, and all you have to do is just take a little break and go back to the beginning. Okay, that way you can catch where you probably did something extra or missed a step. Okay, but if you take your time and you're patient with this project, you're going to end up with such a beautiful, decorative, hand-woven ring that I enjoy making. And it was so fun to design this. And like I said, I Zulified it because when I design something, I want to make it efficient. I want to make it beginner friendly. And I explain the reason why I do things. And I hope that you love this. And I can't wait to see your version of it, how you decorate it. What you're going to do once you get to the spot where you have your other string, you're going to do another knot. And here is to you. You can add a focal bead at the top. You can do more beads. You can hang rings at the bottom to have like um, charms hanging from it. You can do what you would like with your decorative ring. I'm going to show you how I did mine. On some, I added a focal bead, a very simple. I kind of like it without the hanging at the bottom. So mine are a little more simpler, like a little bead at the top, different colors. So can't wait to see what you make. I hope you like this tutorial. See you next time.